So, what if I told you that the way most of us have been taught to look at risk is, well, fundamentally wrong? In this explainer, we're going to break down a framework that goes way beyond simple scores and gets to what really matters, helping leaders like you make great decisions, especially when things are uncertain. Yeah, if you're a leader, this probably looks super familiar, right? The classic risk matrix. It feels so definite, so clean, but you know what? It often hides a lot more than it actually reveals. Today, we're going to dive into a much more honest and way more insightful alternative. And this quote right here just nails it. The whole point of analyzing risk shouldn't be to just slap a label on a problem and file it away. No way. It should be this living, breathing process of really, truly understanding the challenges we're up against. So, how do we actually get there? Well, it all starts with building a new foundation. Think of these four principles as the non-negotiable rules of the road for this entire approach. Okay, this first one is a big one. It completely redefines the very idea of risk. It's not just a probability. It's not some single, lonely number. It's a relationship between two huge things: the consequences of what might happen and the deep uncertainty we have about all of it. So, what's the role of the analyst versus the leader? This is an absolutely crucial distinction. The analysis is a tool, right? It's there to create clarity and insight for a leader. But it does not make the decision. That final call, well, that takes context. It takes experience. It takes judgment. All the stuff you just can't plug into a spreadsheet. And that brings us to this point, which is all about radical transparency. It's a commitment to being brutally honest about what we don't know. Instead of burying our assumptions deep inside some calculation, this framework demands that we put them right out on the table for everyone to see and poke at. Think about it like this. A risk score is like a nurse telling you a patient's temperature is 102. But a risk picture, that's the full doctor's chart. It gives you the history, the symptoms, the potential causes, the different treatment options. See the difference? One's a number. The other is a whole story that actually leads to a smart decision. All right, now that we've got the principles down, let's see how they actually come to life in a practical three-phase framework. We're going to start with planning, which is all about making sure we're doing a useful analysis, not just an academic one. This is where the rubber really meets the road. I mean, if you can't clearly state the decision you're trying to help make, you're not really doing risk analysis. This phase forces everyone to get crystal clear on the actual problem, on what outcomes we truly care about, and how much analytical firepower we really need to throw at it. No more analysis for the sake of analysis. Okay, with the planning done, we can move into the core of the work. This is where we get our hands dirty and actually build that rich, insightful risk picture we've been talking about. It all kicks off with a simple question: what could go wrong? And we're not talking about vague fears here. We're talking about identifying specific, credible events that could set off a negative chain reaction. This is the what could go wrong part of the process. So once we have an event in mind, we look backwards and ask, okay, why would this happen? This means mapping out all the potential root causes, and this is key, identifying the preventative barriers. You know, the safeguards that are supposed to stop this thing from ever happening in the first place. Then we flip it around. We look at the aftermath and ask, so what? If this happens, what's the actual fallout? This is where we trace all the potential consequences and identify the mitigating barriers. Those are the systems designed to limit the damage after the bad thing has already happened. And when you put those two steps together, boom, you get what's called a bow tie diagram. It's so brilliant. It's not just a chart. It's a complete visual story of the risk, all the way from its deep causes to its ultimate consequences, with all the safety nets laid out right there in front of you. Now this step is maybe the most radical departure from how things are usually done. Instead of trying to boil everything down to a single probability number that just gives you this false sense of certainty, we explicitly call out the strength of our knowledge. Where is our data weak? What are our biggest assumptions? This is where the real learning happens. And finally, you pull all these pieces together: the events, that bow tie, the uncertainties, into one cohesive risk picture. This is the narrative, the full story, that you deliver to the decision makers. But look, a great analysis is totally useless if it just sits on a shelf collecting dust, right? So let's look at the third and final phase, which is all about translating all this insight into better, more defensible decisions. Here, that risk picture becomes this incredible tool for comparison. We can ask questions like, how does adding this new control change the picture? Or what if we chose a totally different design? With this context, leadership can then apply their strategic wisdom and their judgment to make the final call. So let's bring this all home. What's the bottom line for you as a leader? How can you actually start using this new lens on risk? Let's distill it all down to the key takeaway. If there's one single thing to take away from this entire explainer, it's this. Good risk analysis should empower leaders, not try to replace them. It provides that deep insight they need to take on their ultimate responsibility, which is exercising sound judgment, especially when things are uncertain. So, how can you spot a flawed risk report? Easy. Here are 4 huge red flags to look for in the next one that crosses your desk. If you see this stuff, it's a big sign that you're probably getting a simplified score instead of the rich picture you actually need to make a quality decision. And as we wrap up, we'll leave you with this question to really think about. Take a hard look at how risk is discussed in your own organization. Is it just a tool for generating numbers and checking boxes? Or is it a powerful engine for creating insight that truly supports and enhances leadership judgment? Because really, the answer to that question makes all the difference in the world.